This is a 4-part series where we are talking about downsizing and right-sizing. So if you are a mature mover or you're somebody who is looking to move into a house that fits your lifestyle a little bit better, or maybe you're looking to move into some independent living where you don't have to cook anymore and you don't have to take care of the yard and you don't have to do any of those things, you are in the right place. So this video is part 3 of a series that is, the first part is talking about planning and how important it is to put a plan in place. Because you know what? The more you have planned, the more control you have over the process and over your situation. And if you're like me, you like to be in control of things. So that's what part 1 and actually part 2 about is as well. Part 1 is really asking those hard questions about, oh gosh, what do I need in this next step of my life, right? And then the next video is about kind of doing your research, getting out there, digging in, seeing what options are available. And I can tell you that just because you're researching, just because you're out looking at places, does not mean that you have to move next year. It doesn't mean that you have to move in a couple years. It doesn't mean that you need to move at all. However, having a plan in place, having some ideas about where you want to go, what you would want to do if this, if then, types of situations helps you, like I said, to kind of be in control, but also gives those people that are important in your life some peace of mind. It gives them an idea of what you even want. I can't even tell you how many situations where something happens to someone's parents and they have no idea about what is important to their parents. And so that's what we're talking about today. Taking that plan that you've spent some time, that you've asked the right questions, you've done the research, and now you're ready to communicate that plan to family or to people that are important to you in your life. So let's get started. All right, my name is Julie Spaulding. I sell real estate here in the Kansas City market, and I make videos to help you to figure out how to make downsizing, right-sizing easier for you and less stressful. Who doesn't want that? Let's talk about some of the ways or some of the benefits of communicating your newly formed plan to your family members. So there are some reasons why it's important, or maybe what are some good ways that you could communicate this to these important people in your life. Now, I may be a little bit old school, but I feel like when you're communicating something this important, it's often nice to be able to do that in person if possible. So a lot of times children or important people in your life don't all live in the same place. Holidays are a good time to do some of that, or, really have a planned time that everybody can get together. Maybe they know what's happening, don't spring it on them, and work through some of these kind of next agenda items that we're going to talk about. Now, if you can't do it in person, Zoom has become a pretty important thing in a lot of people's lives. So that's another option. And unfortunately, there are sometimes when families don't all get along and we need to communicate in a different way. So Zoom is sometimes a better option because we don't have all those raw emotions right there in front of us. But maybe there's a way that you write a letter. If you, down at the bottom in the comments, there's a way that there's a download that has just a sample letter of how you could send this off. I would suggest actually following this sample letter just as a way to communicate some of those items that you want to talk about during the family meeting or the meeting that you're having to share this information. So what are some things that you might want to cover if you are getting everyone together? So I think it's important to tell them the reason why you wanted to do this. Why is it important for you to kind of have this plan in place? I think it's also important to talk about a timeline. Again, as I say many times, this could be a timeline that's 5 years out or a possible timeline 10 years down the road. I think it's important to know that feelings can also come up, your feelings, right? As well as the people that you're sharing with. It could be feelings of sadness. It could be feelings of happiness. It could be fear that comes up. And some people feel comfortable with this, but I think it's important to acknowledge those or to talk about maybe the gamut of feelings that you've had and to acknowledge that not everybody's going to have the same feeling about this as you do. Also, I think one of the other other agenda items that I think is important to mention is, how do you want people in your life to participate in this move? So you've kind of got a plan for how you want to move, but how do you want them to be involved? Do you want them to take care of everything? Do you want them to take care of just the moving? Do you want them to only participate when you ask them? How do you want this to happen? How do you kind of envision this? Another thing that you can talk about during this meeting is how you want to distribute some of the items, like family heirlooms or some of those sentimental items that you have in the house. And how you think, or maybe you just have a list of items that you think you want to give away and then let other people decide. But I think it's a good idea to start that conversation. Again, it doesn't have to be, it's not set in stone maybe, but it's a good way to start that conversation with those important people in your life, whether it's family or friends. What you also see on this kind of sample letter or thing that you can, this document that you can put together, is who you want to hire. Who do you want to be your senior move manager? Or if you even want a senior move manager, who do you want to be your real estate agent? Who is your attorney? Who are some of these other important people? Do you need someone to come in and make repairs? Are you staging it? Are you just leaving it the way it is? And then the last part of this letter or this document is what we talked about before, is those list of those items and how maybe you want those distributed. You'll see on the paper that it has a column to just talk about maybe a little bit of the history of that item. Like, I had a dresser from my great grandmother, and during the course of several moves, it hasn't moved with me. But if I had it, I would love to pass that on and let one of my daughters know that this was from their great-great-grandmother. I know exactly what bedroom it was in. I remember them giving it to me. So it was very special. It had a lot of memories. And I just went through a period of time where I just didn't want things. So I gave a lot of that away. A little bit of history on that can be nice as well. So that's kind of the family meeting part, which is part 2 of this step 2 of this 5-step process. So again, there are several resources down in the notes you can download, and it will help you to put everything in order. Stay tuned and make sure you listen to part 1 and 2, which talk about all the planning, and also in part 4, where we talk about how do we get rid of all the things in our home, and then how to kind of celebrate this new space that you're in, this new lifestyle, and embrace it and find the benefits in that. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.